LSAT. They know how challenging that can be. But my initial plan for law school was to pursue a career that I thought was going to be very fulfilling for myself, knowing my skills. I'm a very, very big people person. I love communicating with people. I love solving problems. And I enjoy the challenge that the law presents. Going into law school, I had no experience with any type of legal position or really what law school was all about. And to put it lightly, I was definitely smacked in the face when I got there. It was a very humbling experience. Obviously, there are tons of smart people in law school, and you're humbled because you're not now the only smart kid in your class, and the material is very dense, very challenging, and it really allows you to kind of find yourself. It's a very humbling experience to be in my second year of law school right now, to say the least.
So I think you've already had quite a full 3-year program already with respect to all the challenges you faced. So perhaps maybe you can share how your first year was like, especially with the tail end coming with the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. So first year started the same it would for anyone else. I mean, yes, I'm in the dual program, so I do half my school at the University of Windsor and spend half my time in Detroit at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. They're not very far apart, so we commute back and forth through the tunnel or the bridge. And again, like I said, it started like any other year, any other school semester. It was very overwhelming at the beginning, I will be honest. The one piece of advice that I will give is look into what it's like to be a law student, which is exactly why we started Law School Life and Beyond, because there's no crash course when you get there. They don't tell you this is how you take notes, this is how you should act in class, and you're kind of left to dry and kind of find yourself and figure out what works for you. So that being said, I went into class every day open-minded, confused, wondering how to tackle all these challenges, how to learn legalese, which I'm sure all of you have heard by now, that term, which is the fun language of law. It's a variation of English, basically. So I spent a lot of time Googling words, figuring out how to read cases, how to read briefs. And again, we proceeded through our semesters as usual. It is very challenging. You do have to be very, very engaged in the material that you're learning. I made it, knowing myself, I'm a very visual learner, and law school is not necessarily the easiest for a visual learner and a hands-on learner, because it's a lot of theory, it's a lot of reading. It's hard to picture in your mind a case from 1824, how that would work in the brain and creating kind of an image, which is why YouTube has been an amazing help for me. There's a lot of awesome YouTube channels that have helped me manage first year. And with that being said, I mean, we proceeded through our first semester as normal. We were able to do exams in person, all that jazz, which was a big challenge. I'd be happy to talk about that challenge if it comes up. And then getting into second semester, I had a bit of a unique experience. My building in Windsor actually had a fire. So I had to leave that building for about a week because there was no power. So I did school. Kind of funny, I actually did a remote week of school from home before the pandemic even hit. My co-founder, Joey, who spoke to you guys last week or 2 weeks ago, was actually having me on the phone during class so I could hear the professor while I was sitting in the public library in Toronto, trying to take my notes and keep up to date with my classes. Little did I know that would become our world a few weeks later. So when that happened, we were at school. We had actually just had classes in Detroit for the day. And there were rumors that the COVID-19 outbreak was going to be presenting some challenges with crossing the border. And we were wondering if there's going to be any cases in Detroit. And the scary thing was, at that time, that day that I left Detroit for the last time, last year was the, I think, second week of March. There were only 2 active cases in Detroit. And if you go look on Google right now how many cases there are in the Detroit metro area, it's quite scary. So that happened. Went back, obviously, at the time, President Trump announced the state of emergency. And it was the next morning that the school had sent an email saying that we need to shut down for a week due to the coronavirus, and we need to find out what's going to be happening in the future. And Windsor followed suit. both campuses shut down. And we had a week off of school, kind of figuring out what was going to take place. And very quickly, they moved to the online platform, which we all know and potentially love or hate right now. And that's been my life for the last, I guess, 7-8 months. I've been sitting here. I made a makeshift workstation in my parents' home. I gave up my lease in Windsor so that I could not only save some money, but also be with my family during this tough time. I could not imagine being alone. And if you are alone, feel free to message me. Like I said, I love people. I've been helping a lot of my friends that live alone downtown. And I'm happy to just be a support system and also give advice about the law and various legal careers and opportunities. So I really mean that. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy. LinkedIn, Facebook. And yeah, I've been here. I actually did finish the semester online. All of my courses last year ended up being a pass-fail system because the dual degree has only whole year courses. And they didn't feel it was fair for us to be graded during the peak, I guess, the first wave of the pandemic. So I have only pass-fail courses from my first year, which presents some other issues when it comes to finding a job, which I'll be happy to touch on as well. And I completed that semester online, all online exams. It was very strange. I did it at one of my family members' office, which is a shipping company, and I sat in one of their spare offices while their staff was at home quarantining, writing my law school exams. It was very stressful, but we got through it, and I'm here to tell the tale. And then also unique to the dual degree program in Windsor and Detroit is that we have summer classes. So we actually had a 3-course summer semester. I was one of the few students who was lucky enough to get an externship opportunity, which is kind of an internship, I guess you would call it, for credit towards the dual degree program. And unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it was canceled at about the last minute, literally 3 days before. We were really hoping that I was going to be able to work with the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Association, which kind of regulates all the traffic and the new bridge, the Gordie Howe Bridge, which is being built between Windsor and Detroit. Unfortunately, that fell through. So I had to take on another class, which allowed me to have that three-course summer semester. And that, again, was done completely online. I tried to sit outside in the backyard when I could. Computer overheated a few too many times, so I decided to set up this basement office, and here I am. And now the truck continues on, and here we are, almost finished my first semester of second year, online, remote, trying to stay in touch with my classmates, trying to manage the course load, and I'm here to share that with you guys.
All right, so you mentioned law school exams, and I know perhaps your first semester you wrote them as normally scheduled. What is it like? Because it's quite a difference from those coming from university, where the structure for courses are a little different. I mean, certainly it differs from school to school. I know when I was in Osgoode, probably over 10 years ago, maybe a little bit different now. But what advice do you have for people who are tackling those exams for the first time and how to prepare for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So they definitely are right. JP hit it on the head. It's very different from undergrad. These exams are very long. They're very dense. It requires a lot of flipping through notes if you do have an open book exam. The one piece of advice that I would give is collaboration with your classmates beforehand. I would not have been able to get through my 1L year had it not been for people like Joey and other various classmates that I spent countless hours with in the library, in our apartments, creating graphs, outlines, going through course content as much as possible. A lot of the law school exams are open book, meaning open note, not necessarily open internet, but any notes that you've made before the exam are fair game. And that's really what helps you get through a lot of these exams are these outlines, which basically go through various legal tests and legal processes when you're faced with various issues, depending on the course. So my biggest recommendation would be collaborate with your classmates beforehand, go through the material, talk it out, create these outlines, and use those to your advantage. Use your classmates to your advantage. Like I said before, there are so many smart, intelligent people in law school, and the collaboration of smart minds only creates good things and creates for success. So that's my biggest suggestion.
Now, following that, I mean, I think it's probably the same, but a little bit different this year. I remember after your first year, and you mentioned the pass fail, which may throw a little bit of a wrench,
Yeah.
was how important those first year marks were because you got into the OCI process right after. Now, I understand it's a little bit different this year. So perhaps maybe you can share for those what that process is like, and certainly I have students who have no idea when I use the initials OCI what that even means. So perhaps maybe kind of starting with that and explaining the importance of your first year and the impact it has and it's continuing to have here with the pandemic on that process.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the OCI process, also a an acronym I had no idea what it meant until months ago. It's the on-campus interview process, which is basically the formal law society governed hiring process for summer students in law school in Ontario and I believe across Canada. So usually the OCI process takes place in first semester of second year. And that's why, as JP said, the first year grades are so important because that is what you're generally based on. That's what's going to get your foot in the door for those interviews and hopefully lead to a pretty well established and successful summer position with these amazing firms that Ontario and Canada has to offer. So the pandemic has impacted this process for me because, like I said, I don't have grades from my 1L year. The only grades I did have were for my summer courses. They did decide that we were going to be graded on those courses. And again, now from here on out, I believe we are going to be graded. This semester, surely we're getting graded. And that is what the OCI firms are going to be using to assess our skill set. Now, the OCI process, again, I haven't lived it, so I can't share too much, but from what I know in terms of preparation is there are tons of applications that need to go out, which usually consist of your grades, of course, your resume, and very well-tailored cover letters, as well as potentially references and so forth. So that process I will be living shortly. The plan, I believe they become available in about a week or so, the application process, but I plan to tackle those through the winter break. That's when the majority of those applications will probably get completed by myself. And then the OCI process will begin in the new year. And what essentially happens with that process is there are multiple stages. So first, of course, like any job, you'll submit your application. And then following that, you're hoping to actually get an on-campus interview. Now, the on-campus interview usually would take place on campus or at a venue of some sort. I know at Windsor, there's the Big Caesars Casino, which it usually takes place there in the event hall. That will now be virtual, as everything else is, which is going to create some challenges. And that's part of my networking that I've been doing is trying to figure out how to best deal with those challenges. Because for me, and I'm sure many of yourselves, the human interaction goes a long way. You can read body language, you can see how someone presents themselves, and that aura kind of generates, do I like this person? Are they giving me a good vibe? And with that vibe, you kind of determine, do I want to work with this person? So the virtual world is going to present a whole different opportunity when you're doing an interview sitting in your apartment, your basement, anywhere. It's so different. It's going to be so strange. So that process will take place online for myself. Hopefully I will be getting interviews. I've been networking my butt off, trying to ensure that I can get something. Obviously, it's a tough economic climate right now, and jobs are few and far between. So that's presented a bit more of a challenge, having to expand my network even more. But going back to the typical process, so the OCI process, you'll start online, hopefully having that online interview in replacement of the on-campus interview, and then from there, the firms will decide, did they like you? Do you fit what they're looking for? And if so, then there usually is an in-firm process. The in-firm process, from what I understand, is you actually would go into the firms, you would have more interviews with various members of their legal team and hiring team, including partners, potential articling students, junior associates, senior associates, trying to get your rounds through to understand if the firm is the right fit for yourself, and also if you are the right fit for them. And I believe that will probably be taking place online. I'm not sure how that process will work. I guess as life is now, it's day to day, week to week. There are new restrictions all the time. So that's essentially the process. And then once you've gotten through all of those stages, the last stage is the call day, where you find out if you've made it all the way through to that last round of interviews. You'll find out whether or not you've been offered the position or not. Um, and I guess the one piece of advice that I'll give, that I've been getting from a lot of the networking I've been doing from articling students, past summer students, even partners at some of the big law firms, the sister seven firms, is that you need to be confident in yourself. That's something that I'm working on all the time, of course, as we all are. But also remember that with these interviews, you need to make sure that you're as good of a fit for this firm as they are for you. So meaning that, yes, you're being interviewed by the firm and you want the position, you want to get paid, and you want the experience, but you have to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position that you're going to hate what you're doing. I mean, law is a grueling career from what I understand, and being only a second year law student, I can say there are many sleepless nights and many late nights, and you have to know whether that's something you want to do. So from my understanding, the big firms require that. They require a lot of hours and a lot of dedication, as does every practice of law. But from what I've heard, those are the firms where you're going to be grueling, potentially into late hours of the evening sometimes, having to put your best effort and your full brain power forward, potentially for 12 hours a day. So you need to know, is that something that you want to pursue, or do you want to maybe pursue something at a smaller, more boutique firm where you may be able to work a more of an 8 to 5, 9 to 6 type of situation? So that's something that each and every one of us needs to decide and needs to think about. And that's what I'm currently doing right now. I mean, I'm like I said, the market is not as good, let's say, as it was at one time, or it has been. So you kind of need to know what it is that fits you, but also what's out there. And you can't be picky when it comes to a difficult job market, but you also want to put yourself first.
Now, certainly the topic there of the moment is things being done virtually and classes being virtually. And I can remember when I was in law school, there was like a big fight to have windows in the rooms because they'd be distractions. And then Facebook came along, and the laptops and so forth. So just wondering what thoughts you have and what advice do you have, because certainly this is something, once the door has been opened, I think, in the legal profession to some new technological change, this might be something that we can continue doing pandemic, when we're past the pandemic, right? So how have you found studying and learning and writing exams and everything online? And what advice do you have for future students who may be in those same shoes, or students that are in your position right now who are going through 2L or 1L in law school?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, the online platform presents a lot of challenges, and it presents a lot of benefits. I would say that the challenges that I've faced are the attention span and the ability to focus. I mean, the space that you're usually either hanging out in or relaxing in, which would be, let's say, a guy's area in a basement or a TV area. I mean, I've got to my left here a couch and a TV. And it's tough to focus. I mean, obviously you have to be very, very self-motivated and be like restricted. You have to know your limits and know what you're capable of. So the biggest issues I've had have been the focus in the online classes. Also in law, and I'll be perfectly honest, I've found that a lot of these professors are, one, not the most technologically advanced, so they're not going to be throwing in videos, images. It may be a 3-hour lecture of just them sitting here speaking at you, and talking about theoretical law and how the law comes into play. And it's tough. It's tough for any person. I mean, even sitting here like this, I'm sure it's difficult to stay completely focused as a listener, because I don't have anything crazy engaging. I'm not throwing fire around. I'm not juggling anything. I'm just trying to give good advice. So it is challenging to sit there through lectures in a comfortable space that's usually a different mindset associated with it. I would say that's probably the toughest part. Also, the other tough aspect is just the lack of social interaction with your classmates. I mean, we had a midterm in tort law recently, and we were discussing amongst ourselves after the midterm, just the feeling of writing an exam in an exam room and walking out is almost so relieving, because it's like, oh, I've left it in there. Whatever happened, and now I'm out of the room. I can move on with my day. Versus now, you write an exam in the same spot that you do your work, do your classes, do your studying, And then when your exam's done, you press submit and close your computer, and it's like, I don't feel that relieved. And that's been tough on the mind. And I think that also goes into what we're doing at Law School Life and Beyond. If you've noticed, a lot of our recent articles are about mental health and are going to be about mental health, because that's a big issue that I've found with not only myself, but a lot of my students that I go to class with and that I'm mentoring, is the mental aspect of being able to manage the workload, the solidarity of doing classes alone in most cases. That's the toughest part. Now, with that said, what I would recommend is take the time to go on Zoom, go on FaceTime, go on Skype, and use these platforms to collaborate with your classmates. Like I said, as if you were in person, try to mimic that as much as possible. I have a call later today with about 4 or 5 of my classmates to go over an assignment that we have due on Sunday. And we're just going to pick each other's brains and also just discuss the class. Sometimes the professor says something, you don't get it, you might want some clarity. So you just converse amongst yourselves. So the collaboration with classmates is so important. And I think that goes to the actual legal profession as well. A lot of the people that I've spoken to, you are working in teams. It's the most team-oriented profession, I think. You will be collaborating on different aspects of assignments and different briefs and affidavits and tons of different legal documents that you're not going to be doing alone for the most part, especially if you're at a bigger firm. So this is just preparing you for that. And with that said, just in general, I've noticed that there is a disconnect in terms of the practice of law and law school itself. And I've heard that from tons of lawyers. There is a disconnect, being the type of work you do and what you're learning. But what I've figured out and what I continue to learn is that the law school experience is not necessarily what you're learning in terms of the material. It's the skills that you're learning and the thought process that you're learning as a law student. The teamwork, the critical thinking, the problem solving. Those are the skills that you're going to take away from law school that will allow you to hopefully succeed as a legal professional. And that's what I'm continuing to work on virtually. Again, like I said, collaborate, go over your work. And the most important thing too is you have to time manage so that you can get a break. I've created a gym in my family's garage. It was freezing in there for the first couple of weeks of November, or I guess October. It was quite cold in there. I was debating, do I want to work out anymore? I don't know if I want this, but I need it. That's my mental release from the schoolwork. Sitting here all day in front of a computer screen is difficult. It's not natural. And it begs the question of, should I be more active? And the answer is yes. You need to get out, and you need that release, even a simple walk. Luckily, I have a dog that forces me to go outside at least 5 times a day. Without him, I don't know if I would be getting out as much. But that's what I'm doing to manage the stress. Definitely collaborate with your classmates online as much as you can. Even a phone call is so valuable. I mean, I've been so happy when someone says, whether it be networking or a classmate, just give me a call, because I can actually stand up and walk around on the call. I don't have to sit in front of my computer and converse and stay still and stare at a screen like I'm doing for 9 hours a day anyways. So those things are important as well to consider. Just the little things to get you up and moving and conversing with people. That's what's getting me through this. But with that said, it's still a tough process, and everybody has a different coping mechanism for these types of things. And again, if you do want further advice, Law School Life and Beyond is going to be posting tons of different articles about managing the stress of the virtual world and law school itself.
No, that's excellent. First of all, I want to just point out for those listening who are either law students or paralegal students, that the Law Society of Ontario has a member assistance program that's free and confidential for students, not just lawyers and paralegals. And that's an outlet that I encourage everyone to make use of. And I'm glad certainly Law School Life and Beyond is doing things like that. And so let's talk about Law School Life and Beyond now. I had Joey on before. So perhaps maybe you can give us the background of where this idea came in and what you've accomplished so much so far in 2020, and what are your plans kind of beyond the rest of this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So Law School Life and Beyond has grown already to a point that I honestly could never even imagine. It was almost started as an outlet for Joey and I to kind of maybe release some stress and give some insight to to some friends at other schools and people that we knew that were considering law school. And it was just fun. It was fun to write something that wasn't law related. It was more opinionated. So what happened, and I'm sure you heard from Joey, I'll give my perspective and my side of the story was we were in class and we would constantly speak about how we had no idea this was even part of law school, or why are we doing this and why didn't we know about this? And we would always go on law students forums, lawstudent.ca, and you would see a lot of biased posts or negative posts or misleading posts. And we were thinking to ourselves, it would make so much sense to start something that gives an honest, unique perspective, not only to us as dual JD students, but hopefully to future law students at other schools, maybe legal professionals themselves, to hear what law school is still like. Because from what I understand, it's continuing to change. I mean, laptops are essential to law school right now, in my opinion. And 10 years ago, maybe they weren't. I'm sure you would know. But so our decision was, we were at Joey's apartment in Windsor, and we were between classes, and we said, man, we should really start this. And Joey had heard about the platform Medium actually from Gary V YouTube video, who is he's Joey's motivator and mentor. I'm sure he wishes he was actually his mentor in person, but his YouTube videos and podcasts suffice. And I was on board completely. I thought this was an amazing idea. I thought there were so many things that I wanted to share because I felt misled. I felt confused, and I felt that we needed people to know what our experiences were like and the process of preparing for law school and knowing if it's for you, and knowing all the ins and outs. So we started. Obviously, we started just between Joey and I. Our plan was a weekly article. I would write something. He would write something. Obviously, the first one I wrote was just why we started the blog, which you guys are more than happy to go. I'm more than happy for you to go and read that, and you can get a full insight as to why it's there and why we're continuing to grow. And then, of course, the process of just being accepted to law school, being denied from law school, the LSAT, managing the stresses of law school, certain terms that you hear in law school, like I said before, the legalese, things that you would never know. And that's why I think that anyone in this paralegal class is at a major advantage. I mean, Joey was a paralegal, as I'm sure he told you, before going to law school, and he was one of the top the classmates that I had. He was absolutely killing it. And I think that his background in his paralegal work was what allowed him to succeed, because terms that I had never even heard of, or concepts I had never even imagined or knew existed, they were nothing to him. He had already heard of them. He had already practiced them. And that really helped him grow and helped him succeed in law school, which also ultimately allowed him to transfer from the dual program into U of T, which is amazing. So that was how it started. We managed to get some more kids in our class on that were interested in reading and writing. And it was funny. I mean, growing up in the Toronto area, I was away from a lot of my friends at school. And when I came home for one weekend, we had gone out pre-pandemic. It was probably February. And people that I hadn't seen in a while were like, hey, I saw that article that you wrote that was posted on LinkedIn. It was pretty good. I was like, oh my God, people are actually reading these things? That's crazy. And it kind of just snowballed. Joey had people reach out to him from other schools saying, hey, I'm a 1L student, or I'm a hopeful 1L student, and I love your articles. I'd love to give my perspective on certain things from a different school. And then we grew to about five writers, and I was satisfied. I thought this was awesome. This was great. And it wasn't until the summer that we really started growing a lot, and Joey really was pushing growth of the platform and the diverse perspective of the platform. The most memorable moment so far for me that showed that how amazing the platform actually is through the social orientation process that I went through with the current 1Ls. I was a mentor and a social orientation leader. So I was responsible for calling future Windsor and UDM dual students in the summer, kind of giving them my opinion of the program and helping answer any questions. Because of the online process, it was so confusing, and there are so many things that go into being a dual student when it comes to crossing the border and different paperwork that's required. And I actually had one of the students that I had never heard of, never spoken to before, tell me that I sounded really familiar, and she knew my name. And I thought to myself, I don't know, maybe we had a mutual friend of some sort. She was from the Toronto area. And she goes, no, I remember reading your articles early in the year, and I love them on Law School Life and Beyond on medium.com. And I said, are you serious? She's like, yeah, it helped me so much. I heard about the LSAT, and I actually read that the night before I went to do my exam. And I was like extremely humbled, and I was blushing over the phone, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And she said, like, I would love to join the platform. And she gave me her diverse background. And I thought, wow, coming from like a tech background, this would be great. She can give a perspective. She was passionate about a different area of law than I was, and Joey was, and had a different perspective coming into law school. And that was really humbling for me, because I thought, wow, someone that I don't even know, don't have any type of social connection with whatsoever, even virtually, was really moved by our platform. And that was an amazing, that was a big push for me to say, wow, we really need to start pushing this. And mainly through Joey's work, because he's been the one that's kind of been at the forefront of this. I've been more on the back end when it comes to trying to recruit. Recently, we started an editorial process, and I'm kind of one of the spearheaders of that. So I'm trying to edit many of our writers' articles to ensure that they're just the best quality they can be. And they have been. I've had to do barely anything. I don't know how we got so lucky and got so many amazing writers. My job is maybe to fix a grammatical error here and there, and that's about it. And the team continues to grow. I think that we're at probably about 20 writers right now. We've had some key features from a few practicing lawyers, one from Diamond and Diamond in Toronto, and one from a boutique criminal firm in Ottawa. And they've given their practicing perspective, which has been amazing. I know that we've also expanded into a podcast, which we're hoping that JP will hop on with our lovely Katya. And it continues to grow. I mean, we're hitting all social media platforms right on the head. We're approaching 2,000 followers on Instagram, which is awesome. We actually got a DM, I think it was early last week, from a student saying that she is planning to go to law school and is religiously reading our articles. And they're helping her, and they've taught her so much. And all these little experiences and these little positive sparks from different people are really what are pushing us to continue to grow the platform. And that's the plan. To answer your question of where we see it going in the future is, we want to create the most diverse platform and honest platform for future and current and past law students to get insight from a variety of schools all over Canada. That's our main focus right now. Hopefully expand in the future. Continue to grow in terms of the podcast. The podcast, I think, is going to be a great hit. YouTube videos, potentially get into actually posting YouTube videos about law and study techniques. And like I said, creating outlines maybe on YouTube, like some other channels are doing, to help future law students and 1L students and 2L students and 3L students with difficult concepts in the law. We really want to hit every aspect to try to make the law school experience as transparent as possible. We want to give our honest opinion, give insight without bashing any professionals, any schools, because all the schools in Canada are terrific. They've all managed this pandemic better than I could have even imagined. I don't know. I think my head would have exploded if I had to do all this administrative and procedural tech work to get this year going. And that's our plan. Our plan is to just continue to expand, to offer the most comprehensive platform. And I think that I was talking to Joey this weekend, and we do want to add a paralegal aspect to it, because we're all necessary for this legal process to work in Canada. And giving a perspective from that aspect of law is also very valuable, not only to current law students to know what it's like to be a paralegal, but also the collaboration opportunities between lawyers and paralegals, as well as those who are maybe considering law that don't know if a legal career as a lawyer or a paralegal is the right fit. And we want to help steer people in that right direction.
Right. I think it's excellent you get such a wide diversity there, because we were talking about OCIs, and I'd be amiss to say that there were plenty of students when I went to law school that didn't really participate in the OCI process. I mean, there was all this push towards, the big firms on, you were talking about your social orientation. Usually they would sponsor, their names would be splashed across. I think I have a bunch of my gear still from law school, but there's a lot of people who have different perspectives, and I think it's important that people hear about that. And I think it's an excellent, you've put together, everything on in terms of Instagram. Now you have the podcast and 20 different writers that it provides that outlet. And I wish you all the best with continuing to grow that, because there are so many different students or potential students, and they have different questions. And certainly at lawstudents.ca, I think I remember that from when I was a student. I think there was something called Law Buzz as well. And we had Facebook used to be popular. I don't know if it still is, or maybe it's just my generation now, but we'd have the Facebook groups before you join law school. People would start them up. I remember, I think I used to have one for my section at Osgood. But what else do you think in terms of providing guidance for those looking to get into law school? What are some other things that you'd like to share that you yourself, maybe going back 2 years ago, wish someone had told you before you stepped into the joint program there in Windsor and Mercy?
Absolutely. So first thing first, I would say I wish that someone had started Law School Life and Beyond a little earlier. I'm obviously happy that I was the one to do it, but that I think is an amazing starting point, and we're going to continue to create that platform to be an amazing starting point to say, okay, I'm considering law school. What's it all about? Let's go to Law School Life and Beyond and check it out. So that is something I think that everyone should take advantage of and continue to stay on top of, because more articles are going to keep coming out, more posts on Instagram, on Facebook, more podcasts that are going to give insight. So that is going to be an amazing opportunity to stay engaged and learn about what law school is like. And then in terms of myself, the one thing that I'm actually happy about is that I didn't get into law school right away. I wasn't successful in my first attempt at applications, and that caused me to have to work. I needed to make money for the year. I needed to get more experience. And that was one thing that I was really hoping I could share, was just not to undervalue any life experience or any job experience that you have. Funny enough, I was doing my networking. I was speaking to a partner at one of the big firms, and she asked me, so tell me, like, what did you do before law school? And I gave her my rundown. I worked in tech. I was a salesperson. I ran different marketing events, all these different things. And she said, wow, you're the most interesting person I've spoken to today. And I've spoken to 4 CEOs of massive companies. And I was like, whoa. But that just goes to show you that those different experiences are so valuable, and having a unique background is so valuable, because you're going to gain skills that are extremely transferable and extremely valuable when you do start your practice as a paralegal or as a lawyer or any legal professional. So the biggest advice I can give is get into it when you're ready. I certainly don't think I would have been mature enough or prepared mentally enough to go into law school right out of undergrad. That's me. And I think that without the 2 years that I had of work experience in completely different fields, gave me the skill set, that those experiences gave me the skill set required to actually succeed and survive law school. Without that, I would not be here still. I probably would have been booted out of first year, and that's what's allowed me to succeed. So don't undervalue or stress about a lack of legal experience. Any job experience is so transferable and so valuable, and that's my honest belief. And then again, I would say research. Do a lot of research before you decide if law is for you. Yes, the legal profession is not for everybody. A law degree is tough to obtain if that's the mindset that you're going to go into it with. And that was what we were told in our social orientation, was if you are here with the mindset that I don't want to be a lawyer, it's going to be hard to succeed. But with that said, if you go into it open-minded and say, maybe I don't know what I want to do, but I think law is something that I'm interested in, the JD degree does open a lot of doors. And I plan to explore those doors as well. I'm not sold on anything. The one thing I'll say is that law school does not necessarily give you the guidance in terms of what law is for you. It's kind of on you to do that research and figure out what you have the abilities for. For example, criminal law, I don't think that's for me. I think I'm too soft-hearted. I don't know if I could handle that, but there are many people that can. And that's something that you kind of have to sit with your own thoughts and work through in order to know what it is that you want to do. So do that research, whether it be about yourself, your interests. Use the various types of career generating platforms online. I mean, I did 100 of those tests before, and I think like 70 of them said that law was probably good for me. So I said, okay, I'll pursue it. And then also research the different schools and different opportunities that come with those schools. Research what connections those schools have. For example, going to school in Windsor, they're very well established in Windsor. There are a lot of Windsor grads that stay in Windsor, and there are a lot of successful lawyers in Windsor and firms in Windsor. But they are also very well connected and have a lot of alumni in Toronto. And that was important for me. My whole family is in Toronto, and my intention is to come back here and be a successful lawyer, and then see where that takes me. But in terms of going into it, know that law school is an amazing door opener opportunity. You're gaining skill sets that are so transferable to tons of different fields. You are working out your brain as if you are a professional athlete. If I could see my brain, it probably would have an 8-pack by now, I would hope, because it's constantly working. You're going through material that is so complex and so dense that it requires a certain kind of person. And I don't see myself as the typical law student. So I would say that you don't need to be a particular kind of person to succeed in law school. I think that as long as you have the certain skill sets, which are mainly to be driven, self-motivated, ability to time manage, and persistent, then you'll be able to succeed in any legal profession, because that's all it takes. And then of course, work on those social skills. The social skills and the ability to be comfortable speaking to people, whether it be virtual, obviously is a little bit easier because you don't see all those faces either tuning out or judging you, going, what the heck is this guy talking about? But those are all important things. I think that the ability to speak to people is something that I worked on a lot through inside sales, which kept me on the phone making cold calls all day, or doing marketing presentations to various companies. Those are the skills that I gained that were most valuable, and that I think have allowed me to gain the confidence in myself, both when I'm dealing with people and also in my work, to know that I can handle what I'm doing. And also, the last thing that I'll say is just law school and the legal profession in general, any studying and practice of law, well, you'll have doubts. You'll have doubts in yourself. I had major imposter syndrome. If you haven't heard what that is, it's basically when you are constantly questioning, how did I get here? This is not for me. Why am I here? I don't want this. It goes through, it's almost like a pandemic of itself. It goes through almost every student. All my friends that are in law school have felt the exact same way. And it's no indication that that's not for you, because I'm sure most lawyers would say that they had that at one point or another, whether it be in practice or in school. So overcome those mental challenges. There are a lot of mental challenges in law school, and the mental toughness and persistence will allow you to succeed, and of course reach any goal that you want to. And again, I'm living it. I'm not standing here or sitting here claiming that I've achieved anything crazy. I'm only a second-year law student. I have a lot to achieve in the next year or so. So I'm happy to go through that with anyone in any legal profession or any law study, whether it be paralegal or law school. So like I said before, if anyone wants to reach out to me at any time, I'm so open to offering as much guidance as I can to help get through this together, because I'm living it. We're all living it. We all have resources that maybe have lived it. And like I said, the community and the collaboration is necessary to succeed.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us here today. And perhaps maybe you can end with any final words of advice, as well as how people can reach you, as you said, especially the Law School Life and Beyond Instagram account, as well as on Medium and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So feel free, of course, anyone can reach out to Joey or myself through the Law School Life and Beyond platform. We're always online. We'll always respond quickly. But personally, more than happy to connect with anybody on LinkedIn. It's Ryan Delmar. Look me up. Just remember this face. There's a picture. Doesn't look, hopefully, not as good as I do right now. I would like to think it was a rough picture, but you should recognize me. and any other platform. Facebook's awesome. I'm always active on Facebook. I'm happy to chat about absolutely anything. I believe that our emails are posted on the Medium page for Law School Life and Beyond, our personal emails. So feel free to reach out to me that way as well. And in terms of last words, I would say good on you all that are in paralegal school. I wish kind of that I had this background before thinking about law school, because like I said, it is so valuable. Having that groundwork and grassroots knowledge of the law has definitely helped a lot of the classmates that I have that were paralegals or did programs of this sort. And like I said before, don't undervalue any experiences or any skills that you have. We're all unique. We all have amazing character traits, personality traits that will allow us to succeed in different aspects of the legal profession. So on those days when it does get tough and you do get down or you get anxious, just remember that the skills that you have are valuable somewhere, and it all falls into place, and you will find the value for those skills. Do your best in school. Obviously, you have an amazing professor in JP, and I know that he'll guide you through this. And again, reach out to me at any time. I'm more than happy to collaborate and give as much advice on personal matters as I can, as I'm living through these matters every day. And just want to thank you guys so much for having me. This was awesome. I'm so grateful that I was able to do this. I'm on an amazing panel every day. I see on LinkedIn who's been on this platform, and I can't believe that I'm even here. So thank you very much, JP. Thank you guys for all entertaining me for the last almost hour. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best. And I hope that you do reach out to me at some point.
Perfect. Thanks again, Ryan, and all the best. I know you're probably writing exams coming up next month. I think it's probably the same process there, end of first semester there. So all the best with your exams and on the OCI process if you're involved there. And thanks again, and certainly all the best to you and Joey with Law School Life and Beyond.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Take care. Thank you.